G'day, welcome back to my string challenge series of Corp. And I think that this time what we really want to do is just sort of try and clean up America, especially the Northeast is what I'd really like to do now. And I think with confidence I can say that even if I don't have all the cities, I've got the vast majority of them, so I can start to try and work out in what way can we maneuver through this. Now, the problem that I'm seeing is that I've got a whole bunch of stuff here that I need to sort of address, and we can just sort of sit there and talk about this while we gain money, because money's pretty important at this point, and hopefully gain New Orleans. But basically this whole section here, it feels like what I want to do is work through it. So I don't feel like it should come out of Canada till about here, and then run down the American East Coast. Potentially, it could then connect to this, and this loop into the West Indies could sort of take place, and then come back up and out before it joined on somewhere else. But either it would mean that this would have to connect sort of through here and then up, and then continue, and then connect to here, and then run this route up. I should have read where that was giving me a plane. And then run through all of this, and then down, and then through here. And basically from this point, we then run into Mexico. That could work. The only problem would be where Tampa connects to next. Because either I could have it connect to Jacksonville and then bounce up, but then that means that coming down, Charlotte's going to have to jump all the way to Orlando. And so that's a $339 connection versus a 309. Okay, so that's not worth it. So Tampa going straight to Atlanta is the better setup there. So is that the route that we want to take? Firstly, let's have a look at what we've got going up here and just see if we can clean this up any. So firstly, we get rid of that route and we go north. Quebec connects there and there. Actually, was it that we get rid of that route there? So it goes up, comes back down. So that route goes. And possibly it's just that they go. He's got to be closer to this one. So we'd get rid of that. Well, what we could do is we could go. I mean, these aren't very expensive routes because it's still technically very early in the game. Get rid of that. And then from here, he connects straight over to Ottawa. Cut that connection, and he connects to Kingston. So then, this is where one of the bummers where we can't just pause the game. But also, I mean, I'm permanently getting the penalty anyway, so there's no harm in having places just completely cut off. So, let's go Ottawa, to then Pembroke, North Bay, up through here. No, we probably want Windsor and maybe Cleveland. And then from Cleveland, we run to Buffalo. So we cut that line. And we cut that line, but we'll give that to Pittsburgh for now, just so that there's still a connection there. Okay, then they run back up through these ones. We cut that Ottawa direct flight, so it goes through Montreal and then down to Boston. Let's just double check to see the distance for Boston again. So 221, so that is the closest port for Boston, so I guess that's the better way to go. We swing down here. Philadelphia. Now, I guess that we don't want to give Rayleigh to Charlotte's side of things here, because that would just sort of swing that further away. That lifelong ticket holder is getting better and better. Although I suppose this is where we want to come down. So if we then go... we get Philly. We cut that, and we get Columbus, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, all connecting that way. Sell that route and that route. And we go next Cincinnati in there. Sell that route. Connect that to Memphis. And then so what we have is Philly goes to DC. Which one's longer for Rayleigh? That's longer, but we'll leave it as is. We'll cut that, connect those two, cut that. That connects to Charlotte. We cut that, and Tampa runs straight to Atlanta for now. So basically you come, yeah, as messy as this currently looks, it now makes Houston the end of the line. So you come in, you go through the northeast of Canada, swing into Ohio, come back out, swing around the top, come down, go through here, all the way back out, and then you stutter up. This guy here's still an outlier, but there's nowhere to connect him on that side, so we'll leave him as is. Let's have a look. So if it's 300 to there, 280 to there, and there's 2 long flights here. Alternatively, we could have Windsor swing out to Milwaukee, and then Chicago swing into Cleveland or into Columbus. Yeah, let's do that. So let's go Windsor to Milwaukee, Milwaukee to Chicago, Chicago to Columbus, and we'll get rid of that route, and then Kansas goes straight to Minneapolis. And we get rid of those 2 routes. '87. So I mean, alternatively, we could have Chicago go to Indianapolis, to Louisville, to Cincinnati, to Columbus, and they all hook that way. I mean, that's about the same distance that St. Louis is already doing, so let's connect those 2. Recommends we upgrade all first level ones. Sure, let's do it. We are starting to make a nice little battle war chest here that start to spend once we've cleaned this up. Because luckily all these flight paths aren't that expensive, so nice little tinkering that we're doing here is basically meaning that we're busy while we're making money too. Okay, so this section here, there's unfortunately nothing much we can do about him. I mean, we could possibly make it shorter by connecting him there as opposed to here. Then that would make that route longer there as opposed to this shorter route. We wouldn't have to, because we could go... Alright, let's try this. If we connect these 2 here... what was my thinking? We get rid of... Make that connection, sell that one. Swing him across here. Brooks to Leithbridge. Red Deer. We've now cut off these 2 parts, so we've got to work this out properly. Red Deer to Edmonton. Get rid of that. Edmonton to there. They bounce up to Yellow Bridge, so we get rid of that, and we get rid of that and that. Then he comes down to Prince George. Get rid of that tiny route. They swing in there. He goes across to Abbotsford. Get rid of that. Campbell River connects to Victoria. We get rid of that tiny little route. There we go. Is that any cleaner? I mean, there's always a chance that we're going to get Anchorage here too. Or Honolulu. Now, once it comes to this part, I'm not sure there's too much more we can do to clean this up. We could connect Vegas between Fresno and LA, but then there's no real easy way to get out to Salt Lake. I guess we'll just leave that part as is, and potentially Mexico could have some cities come in here that could change what we're looking at. So since we aren't currently getting any new cities, let's bring in Mexico, and we will just flip around the very end of this route for now, and we'll make San Antonio the closer point, and we'll get rid of that. Okay, now what we'll do with our money, let's start to upgrade what we've got up here. Particularly this, I guess, since we've got the 5 planes here, we can try and do them in just one sitting. I think I did that in the wrong order, because what I've done is I've now ended up with everyone chasing the guy in front of them, so there's now a huge gap between that guy and that guy, but it's alright. What could the longest route in our system having a bad setup cause? What problems could we see there? Now, while we're updating, I guess, our airports and planes as we move along, one thing I was thinking about this morning, just reading something where they referred to Mickey D's as McDonald's in the US, and that's one thing I find funny. I don't know if how many of sort of my people watching are American, but we don't call them McDonald's Mickey D's in Australia at all. If you're nicknaming McDonald's in Australia, you're calling it Macca's, which is so common that if you actually search at Macca's on Twitter, you'll find that it's owned by the Australian McDonald's. Like it's essentially what it's called. Keep doing these twice and then forgetting I'm doing the planes all the way. So, just out of curiosity, anyone who is American or Australian, is there anything else that you that is the common nickname for what you would be calling? I've run out of money. That didn't go as far as I hoped. What you would be calling McDonald's in your country? Does it have more nicknames, even if it's in the original language? That's fine. I mean, if you're happy to translate what it means, I assume just McDonald's for the most part. But I don't think there's too many other fast food chains that actually have a nickname as common as that. So it's quite possible that other countries don't have it at all. I think the only other nickname, I was trying to think, is there any other fast food restaurants that are nicknamed at all? And I thought, well, the only one that's even loosely is that occasionally you might refer to KFC as Dirty Bird. Just have a bit of Dirty Bird. But I think that's about it. And that is, obviously, KFC is not going to run with that one. Also very different for America. For Americans, I don't know if the times that I've been to KFC in America, it's sort of been more like a buffet. Whereas in Australia, it's a lot more just burgers, chips. Obviously, they sell chicken, but much more a fast food restaurant than a dine-in. You never dine in, or you can't dine in Australian restaurants. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about today, is American fast food. There's a little bit of crossover between Australia and America. There's certainly differences as well. We have Burger King, but we don't call it Burger King. It's called Hungry Jack's. It's the exact same otherwise, but except for that one difference. I've got to assume, I think it was just that the name Burger King was copyrighted in Australia before Burger King got here, so it had to name itself something else, and it decided Hungry Jack's for whatever reason. Carl's Jr. slowly starting to come. Starting to see a few Carl's Jr.'s around. Well, I'm not sold on it. But that's starting to make the move. If I was in America and I couldn't, and I had to have fast food, like I was in there today, and I had to choose from the major chains, Wendy's would probably be what I've enjoyed most in America, I'd say. Wendy's is probably the closest to what KFC in Australia is like, if you want a comparison to. That being said as well, like, that's for something that you would probably see across the country, but otherwise, I just planted 2 planes right on top of each other there. In-N-Out Burger is probably my favorite fast food restaurant in America, though. But that's what localized to about here. I don't know if it's expanded any further since. Certainly tried a few. I'm always curious to see what sort of stuff you're getting in. What sort of fast foods there are. Sonic, I remember fondly. I don't remember what I've eaten there, or even if I actually liked it, but for some reason I have fond memories of going to Sonic. I remember liking the shakes at Shake Shack. I'm not being overly sold on the burgers though. Okay, so we're starting to get a bit of Mexico here. The company I used to work for had a manufacturing plant in Monterrey. So I'm well aware of Monterrey. I once had a product come in, had a sticker on it that was just sort of someone's notes that they'd written in Spanish. And that sat on my desk for the longest time, so I thought that was cool. Alright, so new routes just became more expensive, but they're all still pretty cheap at the moment. So again, with Mexico, what we're basically doing is we're just going to join them as easily as possible at the moment. I guess since we've sort of got that, I'm pretty happy with the layout that we've got going there. The problems with America are more to do with, problems with America in this game at least, are to do with sort of these longer routes in the northwest. So whether I had these guys connected here or connected as it came across here, it probably didn't matter too much. So that's not the concern. So I would say now that Mexico can probably just, any Mexican cities we get up here, we can probably just connect into this this part of America. But everything else we will just sort of use as a chain that we will run slowly down the country until we end up in these smaller Central American countries. But we will try and leave it for a little bit while we let Mexico gain some cities. If we do end up with, is it Cancun that's up here? Is that where Cancun's located, or am I misplacing where Cancun lives? If that's up here, then I think that's possibly still whether we sort of can sweep up that way and then come back down. I do also wonder if what I should do is... No, I mean, I keep considering that maybe I should bring in France, because now this is the strongest part of the network, that what it can do is just sort of sit on the other side of it, so this becomes slightly more central, so the super efficient part of my network actually is the middle of it, and it's not just, this is one edge, and then the whole rest of it is just straining to sort stuff out. However, every time I open a country in the Americas, what I can do is I can slowly use that to work my way down. So for example, I can probably pretty confidently say that Canada is now set. That is how the layout of Canada is going to be. So we can start to upgrade the planes and the routes and everything up here. Whereas with say Mexico and America's still going to be affected by these these northern Mexican cities if they come in. So it may not be set just yet, but we'll wait and see. I suppose what I could do is connect these two here, and then swing up, do this, and then come back across. But that would need just a Mexican city or two in this section. Let's go Acapulco to Puebla. Get rid of that tiny little route. Then move him across. I think I've mentioned before that I've only very briefly visited Mexico in Tijuana, and didn't overly enjoy it as a teenager, and I certainly don't blame Mexico for that. That's just a tourist trap of a location. I definitely would like to visit Mexico at some point further. I'm pretty sure the majority of her name escapes me. Frida's works you'd find in Mexico, and I would love to go see them at some point. Go cruise. Right, let's see what we can do with our money. I'm just gonna sell that plane and then see if I can click on him. Slow things down. Yeah, let's sell that guy. Let's just see if we can identify the gap in this lineup. But then I also have to remember which end I would have built from here. Discover it. Alright, cool. So, a bit more of a... We've got him coming up behind him. So I think the gap is maybe between these two guys. But there. Might space them out a little bit better. Okay, so let's start spending more money. So this money does go pretty quick. At least the positive here is that if you're coming from this way and you're trying to get to Halifax as the hotspot right now, you should be moving with some pretty solid efficiency. Now, ideally, what I would like to do is reach a point where I'm making enough money that I can just sit here and merrily upgrade my entire network, and that it is actually green. That if, before I bring in the next country, we do actually have a fully green setup. Obviously, not completely sold that that'll ever be the case, because whatever the last country I bring in will surely be a little bit of a struggle to sort of be all the way up. But I mean, if it's these guys, if the next things that I bring in are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, surely there's only going to be, I mean, it's going to look similar to this, that there'll be a couple of cities and some of them if there's space, but I know that there's not going to be anything more out there than just that tiny area. As long as we keep getting these PR ones. I know that some people have said that in the all-country mode, once you get towards the end, the lifelong tickets can give you millions or billions of dollars. So I'm very glad that I didn't keep doing those in my all-countries mode game, that I did leave it as sort of, there was at least a challenge there at the end. Whereas in this one, I'm quite happy to take the money, because this isn't about the money, this is about can the routes actually run efficiently enough for this to work as a strategy. Or is it going to bottleneck at the longest route? The other thing that hopefully can happen is as these airports get bigger, it means that there can be more passengers around too. Oxacar? Not sure how you'd pronounce that one. Oxacar? Would the C be that hard? Acapulco, so that's a hard C, that's a hard C. Mexico does use a hard X as well. How do you pronounce an O? I'm sure I've got too many O's. Well, I mean, that's a hard O there too. Oxacar. I've never heard of that city, but based on its name... Well, I suppose it could be either. A little bit Mexi, a little bit Cali. But I assume that's a Mexican city. Sorry, let's get it connected. Let's actually go that way. We can probably rebuild this section now that those two can connect. There's that tiny little route. He can go there. We can get rid of that. And that. That. Tuxtla. Gutierrez. Now, for now, we're just going to connect those two because he's sort of swinging him back towards where that needs to be. Would like to bring these guys in, but it's just more this in the name of getting as many Mexican cities as we can. Whoa. Aga Calientes? Aga Calientes? Maybe? It'll be a hard Cali in there. Entes. Agua. Not S. Aguas Calientes. We'll be decimating that one. Alright. Not to bring in Central. Alright, we'll put you this way just to shorten those two routes. This is sort of, I think, the way that I would end up doing Mexico. That apart from this section up here, it should just be that it basically crisscrosses the country till it ends at the bottom. Let's have a look at how we're looking up here. So you can see that what will happen is that a yellow plane will drop everything that it's got on a spot like that. So this guy will now take everything that he already had and everything else that is sitting at his airport. And so surely, as this moves along, it's just going to get redder and redder because more people are just being added to the ball that's essentially as this snowballs down the hill. And the only thing that could... I mean, I'm not really sure what would then stop it. So when we're starting to deal in... I suppose what it would be is that as long as the airports can handle more of the demand than what the supply is. But as it sort of continues to move, especially when it has these long routes, that's probably where it's going to be dangerous. So it's good that we've got at least those major planes, those major, like 5 planes on those major routes at the moment. You can, it's almost like an interesting thing to see, like, oh, well, at what point does this ball of people start to go back to being yellow or something? And it won't. What'll actually happen at the moment is that the 400 or whatever people that are on this flight will eventually hit this airport here that's almost full, and it will just sort of, they'll disappear. Here it comes. So they're at 100. It maxes out at 100 and they just disappear. So at the moment, we don't have really a fix for that ball because all it's doing at the moment is just hitting us on our overload penalty. And that, we won't get rid of that until we have, I suppose, airports that can handle the load. But we'll want to be making money hand over fist at the point we start to just sort of roll through upgrading all the airports on the map. We certainly can reach a point where that will happen. And I mean, every time we extend we upgrade an airport and a plane, does hopefully make our whole efficiency, or at least our money making, a little bit better. Because then it means that everyone from that point east should now be part of our really strong network. Like I said, at the moment, even these upgraded airports that I'm doing hold less people than what the planes can currently hold. Saskatoon. Okay, so we've got 3 new ones. Oh, there we go, there's Cancun. Now, it might be that we go Cancun to Belize, maybe. For now, let's just Villa Hermosa? I mean, depending on where this is, you could almost just have these guys bounce out to Cancun and go back, and so the Cancun's just part of the islands. I don't want a third city somewhere here, I think. It'll make life a little bit easier. I don't know how many more Mexican cities we will get though. Now at this point with this current layout, I'm glad I don't have New Orleans. I think that otherwise that would cause this to be someone would have to, either these guys would have to stretch out that way, or these guys would. I mean, potentially I could add, if I did, what I could do is go Tampa to there. It's about the same distance, actually a little bit longer apparently. Tampa to there, and then into Birmingham, and what I could do is have Charlotte go to Atlanta, and that come into Jacksonville. Alright, we've got a bit more money there, so let's go back to our upgrades. Went to Hong Kong a couple of years ago and we took my daughter, who at the time was 3. And this is jumping... Oop, I overshot that one. And this is jumping back to the fast food. She was at the time very picky on what she ate. So nuggets were a really big thing. So we did a real tour of all the different fast food places in Hong Kong. And I can tell you their KFC is bad. They have... As someone who has eaten KFC in Mongolia and China, mainland China and Tibet and India, I can tell you that Hong Kong KFC is pretty ordinary. And I even have a co-worker who I mentioned that to, who's from Hong Kong, and he seemed to agree with me. So it wasn't just a once-off bad experience. It seems to be that it's not their strong suit. Now I realize that part of it is I'm upgrading the airports, but you can see the nice sort of wave of green across the top here versus the yet to be updated red that's sitting below it. So it is nice to see that at least this upgrading is having an impact. But it will be whether we can then get rid of it completely. Because like I said, we're gonna be moving these balls of passengers along the line. And I think that as long as we've got enough planes that they can continue to shift that, and as long as our airports can hold more people than what the ball could possibly be, it should be okay. So ideally we need probably at least 2,000 people as our how big we've got our airports. Now, did I go all in on one of these guys? What are we up to? So he's 1,000 and then 1,600 to jump him to 3,000 at level 6. So I think possibly the level 6 airports will be good, but I really want to be making a lot of money at the point that we start to roll through every single airport, upgrading them all like that, I'd say. Now we're, basically what we're trying to do is just, for the most part, it's getting the jets in there is the thing that I want. Is I want the fast speed planes and being able to just move these people, that we're not stuck to just 20 people moving on these small planes. Oh, sorry, it'd be 50 people because it's level 2 planes that are coming in. So the airports are a part of what we're doing here. I mean, it sort of facilitates the amount of people that these jets can move. But the main thing is just getting the jets in there to try and up the efficiency. And you can certainly see the green here. This is the red across the rest of the country. We will have to put a couple more more planes on these longer routes too that I think we're going to have to concede that are just going to be there for a long period. Luxembourg and Brussels. Do they keep giving it to Luxembourg and Brussels? Do we have like the most overpowered... Is that 2? I thought there was 3 in there. There's 4. I just keep giving them to that same one route. I could sell them. That's a moneymaker. I'm gonna keep giving them to me. Sure, I'll keep selling them. People of Ohio, thank you. Luxembourg. So I'll throw that as a question that I'd love to hear your answers, because again, I don't know why fast food is such a fascinating thing for me, but wherever you're from, is there a fast food restaurant that you would recommend that if I was ever there, this is the fast food that I should be trying? It doesn't have to be a full-blown chain, it can be a single standoff restaurant. If I ever find myself in, I don't know what, like, say Seattle, I should go to Red Mill Burgers, something like that, which I have done. But yeah, I'd love to hear it. Just love to learn about more things. So why not this episode, let's learn about fast food around the world. But I'd say we'll leave it there as we're moving back into Canada to get Toronto. I would say that probably we are going to be pretty set on... It's been a while since they've given us another Mexican city. Maybe that's what we're seeing as the extent of Mexico. So when we come in next time, we will bring in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 countries. We'll bring the 7 in, we'll set them up, and then we might bring in Colombia just to see how many Colombian cities that we can get. Because there's no point in sitting on just a bunch of countries where they're not going to probably give us too many cities. But we did get a few out of here. So, so yeah, we'll see. Anyway, any questions or comments, feel free to check them below. And until next time, I'll catch you later. See ya.